Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to for getting the real nuggets of knowledge from, well, all sorts of sources. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We're looking at a collection of true, pretty unsettling accounts. And they're all linked by one thing, the 4th of July here in the U.S.
Yeah, so our goal today really is to unpack these stories. These are first-hand accounts, and we want to explore the subtle things, the rising tension that turned what should have been normal celebration nights into, well, really scary experiences. You know, it's fireworks, parties, national pride. But for these folks, things took a really unexpected, terrifying turn. Exactly. And what's fascinating, I think, is how you have these different incidents told by different people, but you start to see these common threads emerge. It really makes you think about things like vulnerability perception and how thin that line is between feeling safe and actually being in danger.
That's a great point. And it leads us right into this first story. It's a perfect example of how comfort can just flip into chaos really fast. So this account, it starts at a 4th of July backyard party. Pretty normal suburban town. Narrator's parents are away. You've got maybe 20, 30 people there. There's a pool, some leftover fireworks. The narrator's trying to keep everyone outside, avoid a huge mess inside the house. Things start winding down after midnight, and by about 1:30 a.m., pretty much everyone's gone. Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. The narrator's gotten ready for bed, feeling a little buzzed, and suddenly they hear firecrackers. But not just anywhere, right outside their window. Like a whole line of them going off next to the pool in the backyard.
Right, so immediate thought is probably pranksters.
Exactly. Their first reaction is to yell out the window, thinking it's a friend who stayed later came back. Then they run downstairs, slide open the glass door, yell out again, "Who's out there?" But silence. The firecrackers have stopped, so they text their friends, the group chat. But everyone who replies says they're home. Some are already asleep, sees nobody outside, goes back in, locks the door, heads upstairs, thinking maybe it's over.
It wasn't.
Not even close. Barely 5 minutes pass. They hear something from the upstairs living room, just down the hall. Then this really specific sound. The sound of a beer pong ball falling off the table and bouncing on the wood floor.
Chilling. That specificity makes it real.
Yeah, their heart just starts racing and they wonder, okay, did a friend maybe pass out somewhere inside? But it feels unlikely. Everyone seemed accounted for. So they listen at their bedroom door and then they hear it. Clear footsteps coming down the hall towards their door, followed by the doorknob jiggling. The door's locked, thankfully. Then there's a loud bang on the door. The narrator just screams through the door, tells them to get out, threatens to shoot, pure adrenaline talking. And then this deep male voice calls out, "Jay, you in there!" And just as they're processing that, another deep voice from inside the narrator's own room says, "Yeah."
Inside the room? How?
Unbelievable. The narrator turns towards the corner by their drawers and realizes someone is there, sees this man coming towards them holding what looks like a gun. He clamps his hand over their mouth, threatens to kill them. Then he unlocks the bedroom door and another masked man walks in. Turns out there are 3 intruders total inside the house.
3 of them. Just terrifying.
They hold the narrator on the bed, gunpoint. One guy just says, "Stay right there and don't move." The other goes straight for the parents' room, asking for the combination to a safe. The narrator genuinely doesn't know it, and for what the narrator described as the longest 10 minutes of my life, one guy guards them while the other 2 just ransack the place, taking mom's jewelry, anything valuable they can find.
Just pure violation.
Finally, one of them yells, "Let's go!" and they all rush out the back door. The narrator tries to see their car, but couldn't. Says, "It appeared they didn't park near my house." Vanished. Calls 911 right away. Police come, ask the usual questions, cameras. Nope. Names, faces, only heard Jay. Getaway car, didn't see one. Neighbors' doorbell cams, nothing.
Connecting this back.
Yeah.
This really highlights something quite insidious. It's possible the party itself, even the narrator yelling out the window earlier, it might have been like an unwitting advertisement. The firecrackers weren't random. They were a tactic.
A distraction.
Precisely. A distraction burglary. Lure the homeowner out. Create noise cover. Slip inside. It really forces you to ask, how aware are we, really? Especially when we feel safest, like in our own homes during a holiday.
Yeah, the narrator was convinced they were targeted because of the party. Someone saw it happening. Parents were furious about the party, obviously, but mostly just relieved their kid was okay. And the outcome. The narrator became, in their words, a strong advocate for having security cameras around your house. Can't blame them.
A hard lesson learned.
Definitely. Okay, our next story shifts locations. We go from that seemingly secure suburban house to a more secluded spot for fireworks. And this proves that, sometimes the places you think are private, they can hold some very public fears. This was back on the 4th of July, 2015. So the narrator and someone they were dating, Ashley, they decide they want a better, quieter view of the fireworks. Away from the main park crowds, they pick this spot called a Sump. It's basically a big drainage ditch next to the park. Offers a great view, apparently only known to a few friends. You get to it through an unlocked gate on a dead-end street. So around 8 p.m., fireworks time, they head down. It's dark in the Sump. They're using their phone flashlights, iPhone 6s, narrator mentions, so not super bright.
Right, adds to the atmosphere.
Yeah, they bring tequila, soda, a big blanket, and from down there, they can't really hear the park crowd, just maybe a car horn now and then, peaceful. But then things start to get creepy. Just as they're having their first drink, they both hear it behind them. The sound of brush being stepped on. They turn around, shine the flashlights, but just see darkness. The light doesn't reach that far back. Ashley asks, hey, how likely is it someone else would come down here? Narrator says, pretty unlikely. Tries to play it cool. Suggests maybe it was just a small animal.
Trying to rationalize it, keep the mood light.
Exactly. So a few minutes pass, they're watching the fireworks, drinking, and the narrator hears something again from behind. Ashley doesn't seem to hear it this time, but she sees the narrator look back again, asks what they're looking at. Narrator just says, nothing. Doesn't want to scare her, but admits they were getting paranoid.
The feeling that you're not alone.
Right. And here's where it gets really intense. The narrator decides, okay, I'm just going to turn around and stare into those trees, into the brush. And then a bunch of big fireworks go off at once. Boom, boom, boom. Lights up the whole Sump for a second. And in that flash of light, the narrator sees it. A black figure standing in the trees and brush above us. Looked like they were hiding. The narrator whispers to Ashley, there's someone up there. Ashley turns, looks, but just then the fireworks pause, the Sump goes dark again, and the figure's gone.
Vanished with the light. That's terrifying.
Ashley is clearly freaked out now, says she wants to leave. Right now. They agree, okay, let's pack up while fireworks are still going off, use the light. They grab the blanket, the booze, and wouldn't you know it? Of course, the fireworks show ended right there just as they finished packing.
Perfect timing. Or terrible timing.
Right, so now it's pitch black and quiet in the Sump again. They switch their phone flashlights back on, start walking up the hill to get out. As they're getting near the top, the narrator just has to look back. Shines the flashlight into the trees where they saw the figure before, and bam! Heart skips a beat. Sees a black figure again, maybe 10 feet away.
Closer this time.
Much closer. Described as a person in a black hoodie or a robe with the hood up. Even though it was like an 82-degree night, makes no sense.
Definitely not dressed for the weather. Sinister detail.
The figure was sort of behind a big tree, but then, as if reacting to the flashlight beam, they started to run through the brush at us.
Oh, actively approaching.
Yeah.
Chasing.
The narrator pushes Ashley forward, yells, go! And they just got the hell out of there, ran down the street until they were back around other people. Thankfully, they weren't followed.
Wow. That incident really makes you question the whole idea of a private space, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even if it's technically public land. The hiding, the watching, and then the pursuit.
Yeah.
That's not just someone stumbling upon them. That feels deliberate.
Yeah.
Predatory.
Yeah.
It totally shatters that nice idea of finding a secret spot to enjoy something beautiful. It reminds you that secluded can also mean vulnerable. And someone else might know your secret spot too, but for very different reasons.
Absolutely. The narrator said they weren't sure what that person was doing, but concluded, pretty logically, it seemed they were stalking us, and them running towards us meant they wanted to hurt us.
Yeah.
Only saw the one person, but admits they could be wrong. And yeah, after that, they stayed clear from going in that Sump ever again. Smart move.
Very smart.
Okay, our final story for today. This one takes us to another kind of unsettling location. An unfinished house. A place meant to be a home, but on this night, it became something else entirely. So this one starts with the narrator and two friends, Zach and Adam. They'd been lighting off fireworks. Two other friends had already left. They decide to go check out this unfinished house in a newer neighborhood nearby. It's basically just a frame. Floorboards, 2x4s, no real walls yet, concrete basement. 2 floors plus the basement, but the stairs were apparently solid enough to use.
So sort of an adventurous, maybe slightly risky thing to do?
Yeah, exactly. And Zach tells them, keep our phone flashlights off as much as possible because the houses next door were finished and people lived there. Didn't want anyone calling the cops on them for snooping, so they're mostly using moonlight to see, trying to stick together. Okay, and then this weird cat and mouse thing starts. Almost as soon as they get upstairs, they hear a voice. Sounds like it's coming from the main floor or maybe the basement.
A voice. Not just a noise.
A voice, yeah. So they run downstairs to check it out. Then they hear a noise from upstairs. This goes back and forth for, as the narrator says, a good while.
At first, they're trying to explain it away, Maybe it's just the wind knocking stuff over, wood scraps, pipes, or maybe an animal running around.
The rationalization again, trying to find a normal explanation.
But then it becomes impossible to ignore. They're walking slowly through the basement, trying to find the source of these sounds, and the narrator sees someone slowly walking up the stairs next to me.
Whoa! Right there. They see a faint light, like from a phone, but not bright enough to see who it is. Narrator whispers to the others, Zach and Adam, "Is that you?" Both say no. They're right there in front of the narrator.
Okay, that confirms it, not them.
Confirms it. And then, moments later, a bunch of pipes that were leaned against the unfinished wall fall over down the stairs.
Yeah.
And the narrator notes, it didn't look like they fell over by accident. It looked like someone deliberately pushed them over.
Deliberate action.
Yeah.
Escalation.
Yeah. At that point, the narrator says, I knew whatever we were hearing was not an animal or the wind. I knew that someone else was in the house. Chills. So after that, the three of them just stormed out of the house, get outside onto the street, trying to figure out what just happened. Zach is still trying to rationalize. He's convinced it must have been one of the two friends who left earlier playing a prank. But the narrator's like, no way. One was a girl who was worried about getting her shoes dirty. The other was her boyfriend who never leaves her side. Doesn't add up.
Doesn't fit the profile.
Right. And then Zach realizes he lost his keys, probably dropped them inside the house.
Oh no, he has to go back in.
Has to go back. So he goes back in, leaving Adam and the narrator waiting outside on the road. While they're waiting, the narrator thinks they see something moving. A big, dark figure coming from around the right side of the house. But again, they're trying not to use flashlights, so they can't be sure.
The uncertainty is part of the fear.
Totally. After a few minutes, Zach comes back out. He's got his keys, and he says he saw someone in the house again. The narrator tells him what they thought they saw outside. They're still half thinking maybe it is their friend somehow. Zach decides to walk around the left side of the house to check. Adam and the narrator follow him. They get to the back of the house, and suddenly Zach just jumps up and yells, "Run!"
Just pure instinct.
Run! They all scatter. Zach later tells them he saw a tall, dark figure reaching his arms up and slowly moving towards him. Super creepy visual. So the narrator runs out to the road, thinks the others are right behind, but only sees Zach. Then Zach looks over to his right, towards this area, behind a big dumpster the narrator can't see from their angle, and he just says, very calmly, "We don't want any trouble."
Trying to de-escalate.
Seems like it, but then he immediately tells the narrator, "Run to my truck." So they take off in Zach's truck. Later, Zach explains what happened. After he said, "We don't want any trouble," he saw that big dark figure approaching him anyway, and then he saw the figure go behind the dumpster, heading towards where the narrator was standing. That's why he yelled to run for the truck.
Protecting his friend. Quick thinking.
Yeah. And get this, Adam, who drove his own car, said later that as he was speeding away, he looked in his rearview mirror and saw 3 figures running after him.
3. So it wasn't just one person.
Apparently not. 3 figures chasing his car.
This raises some really disturbing questions, doesn't it? Who were these people? The narrator thought maybe neighbors messing with them. But big and tall, pushing pipes, the deliberate chase. This sounds like more than just kids messing around.
Way more.
And the idea the narrator mentions, that maybe it was some kind of weird members of a cult who regularly got together in that house late at night. I mean, that's deeply unsettling, especially since Zach apparently had another similar encounter there, separately. It suggests that place wasn't just empty, it was occupied, maybe regularly, by people who did not want to be disturbed.
Yeah, the narrator was left wondering, who were they really? And how capable they were of doing something far worse than just messing with us and scaring us away. And finding out Zach had a similar experience there before just adds another layer of creepiness to that unfinished house.
Definitely feels like they stumbled into something they weren't supposed to see.
So when we step back and look at all 3 of these stories, distinct situations, but all equally terrifying in their own way, you've got this theme of vulnerability, right? During a time that's supposed to be festive, you've got the shock of a familiar place or a place you thought was safe or private suddenly becoming threatening, and that escalation from subtle little signs to outright direct threats.
Absolutely. And what really stands out, I think, is that power of assumption, or maybe normalcy bias, like we talked about. In every single case, the first reaction is to rationalize. It's friends pranking. It's an animal. It's just the wind. We try so hard to make it make sense within our normal framework.
Until you can't anymore.
until the evidence just overwhelms that explanation. And that's when the real terror hits. These deep dives, they really hammer home how important it is to, well, trust your gut instincts.
Yeah.
Even when, maybe especially when they clash with what you want the situation to be. And it brings up security, awareness, cameras at home, like in the first story, or just being hypervigilant in those secluded spots like the 4th of July itself, all that noise, all that distraction. It unintentionally provides this perfect cover, this sort of facade of chaos that lets truly unsettling things happen almost unnoticed.
It's a chilling thought that the celebration itself can mask the danger. And, well, that wraps up another deep dive from us, exploring that unexpected darkness that can sometimes hide right behind familiar celebrations.
It does leave you with a question, though, doesn't it? Thinking about it for you, our listener. Have you ever had one of those moments where a situation felt completely normal, completely ordinary, and then suddenly it just took this weird, unnerving turn you couldn't explain? What did you do? What did you take away from it?
Yeah, definitely something to think about. Until next time, when we get together to unpack another stack of sources and bring you those key nuggets of insight. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and please always stay safe.